Well, we are starting today. It's always nice when other people can join, and we usually have about three other people online tonight, but it doesn't look like anybody else is going to be here for whatever reason. It is really a good thing. If you guys can join up, it is always good because we always have a better discussion. And yes, the meetings are a little bit shorter if nobody else is here, but it also makes for a very boring meeting too. Now, today I wanted to show you a couple of the wire things, and I also I just recognized that a couple people told me that there were a few links that are not working, and I believe I fixed those, and I wanted to talk about due dates a little bit. Now, I do have a couple images of wire sculptures that people have finished that I want to review and talk about. And I also want to talk about uh, upcoming things for both the artist review and the service learning. And we have a couple students that are doing the service learning, and I wanted to talk about that, make sure that you knew what was going on, as well as with the artist research. So first, I'm going to the um, the due dates. We can change things a little bit if we need to. Um, but I noticed that right here, this is not right. Um, at least I believe it's, wait a sec. Yeah, this is not right. Because what we need to do is we need to see what everybody's doing. We need to talk about it. And then you guys need a chance to revisit it if you need to. Like with the houses, everything is graded, everything is up to date. Uh, one thing that I'm noticing is some of the things that we talked about during our time together, people didn't make the changes that they needed to, and that's fine. I was kind of holding off grading until everybody got a chance to rework their stuff. But if your grade is not exactly where you want it to be, um, that's not a problem because you can always redo it and resubmit. Now, with the houses, however, uh, if you're perfectly fine on all of the images, and the only critique I've given you is that the house doesn't look like it's up to where we expected in this class. And we did talk about that last week. And so, revisit that recording. It's not because you're a bad student. It's just because um, we expect something a little bit different in this class. And we all talked through that and everything. Um, so if you are missing points because the house doesn't look like it's quite finished, do not redo your images. Keep the images and everything. When you resubmit, just resubmit with the updated house and all the images that you already resubmitted, and just put in the comments, hey, I left the images the way they were, and I'm just updating the house so it matches assignment expectations. So, and that's what we're looking at. And the reason why I'm sharing my screen as I was changing the due dates is that this wire sculpture, we needed to be able to talk about it on Wednesday next week. So the wire sculpture will be due this Sunday. A couple people have already submitted it. And uh, one thing that actually, no, nobody has submitted the wire sculpture, but a couple people have submitted the work logs, which I don't understand. The work log 2 is for everything you do in module 2. That includes reading the introduction, taking the quiz, looking at all the background information for each of the artists, writing your artist review, working on the wire sculpture, and then submitting it to the discussion. And remember, this time, the discussion, you don't have to respond to anybody else. You're just putting up pictures of your wire work. So if you have submitted the work log, um, you haven't submitted the other things yet, and you do need to do that. So I would recommend going back finishing and submitting these two things, then resubmitting your work log if you're one of the people who did that, so that the work log can reflect the time that you spent on your wire sculpture. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. There have been a couple people who, when they wrote their artist review, picked artists out of the long list of artists or out of the textbook. And remember, when you do the artist review, every artist review is only for the artist in the background section for that particular module. Those are the only artists that you're drawing from. Um, so for module one, that is, and I believe there's 8 artists. These 8 artists, Polly Becker to Andy Goldsworthy. Excuse me. And for module two, the artists for this module's artist review are going to be these 6 artists: David Oliveira, all the way up to Alexander Calder. All right. Let me know that that makes sense. If you're confused at all I've just made on the comment there, we've talked about it in each of the videos. You just need to use the background artist for that particular module. And that is going to be true for all of them, all 6 of these modules that are project modules. So module 3, which is open now, your artist review is going to be for the background artist. And I'm going to switch that right here, switch that in the quiz. And let's see. And I'm thinking we're going to be changing the due dates on this as well. All these due dates were kind of thrown off because we lost a week last semester. And so I am going to be changing these due dates a little bit and bringing them up a week. And if you start feeling like it is too much, let me know, and we will revisit that. One thing that I want you to look at as well as when you go to the assignments, notice that these are just pages to read by. These are actually the assignments, and then these are discussions. All right. So paper with a pencil is an assignment. Paper with the triangle up there is just something to read. And then the 2 dialog boxes, that is for the discussion. Whenever you do a sculpture, one of the projects, you're going to see that there are these guestifications on how long it will take. And when you see that, um, if you are not getting as many points as you want, go back and look at your work log and see how much time you spent. And most of the time, I've noticed that there is a direct correlation between um, high grades and time spent. And I noticed that on this, I thought this was a little bit shy right here because I'm seeing that the houses that you guys are doing, they're taking a lot more than just a couple hours of construction. And that the best ones take longer. If and not everybody has cut out windows and things like that, but the people that haven't cut out windows that still spend the time on their sculpture do a lot of detail, and they do a lot of really cool detail on their house. Remember, we want to make it so that it's cool and fun to photograph. So 9 people have done that, not and the rest of you need to do that. Everything that has been turned in has been graded, like I talked about, and make sure that the work log that you do is for the time for this module, then that it includes a total. If you're missing any points for that, look at what I've written and just go through and make sure that it's up to date, because most of the time that's going to be why things are missing. And I wanted to share something with you too. Um, I got an email earlier today. No, it wasn't earlier today. It was I think it was yesterday. And it is from Emily over at the on-campus um, museum. This is for the 2026 Student Art Exhibition. Now, I want you to remember when I'm critiquing stuff, I'm critiquing according to the parameters within the module and within that assignment. I'm not telling you that you're a good or bad artist. And the reason why I'm not telling you that is because by the time you get to this class, all of you guys have established yourselves as professional artists and you're good artists. Sometimes the stuff doesn't come quite up to what we expect because you're not familiar with the parameters of the assignment. It's not because you're bad as an artist. So remember that. All of you have produced stuff that is worthy of the student art exhibit. Whether or not it gets in is not an indication, you normally is not an indication of the value of your art, but it is an indication of whether or not you are being consistent to the expectations of the people coordinating the art exhibit. Like if I in the area that I'm at, watercolorists are uh, do a lot of work with landscapes and portraits. I don't normally do that. My watercolors are always experimental and abstract, and it makes them very uncomfortable. So I don't get in any of the watercolor shows because my work does not fit with their expectations. But my work does routinely get into the exhibits at UVU because they are looking for something very different than the people where I live are looking at. Just be aware of what's going on. I think they are still looking for a juror, so you still have some time. But you can start putting stuff or submitting your work next Monday, not this coming Monday. That's a couple days away, but Monday, that's about 10 days from now, or 11 days from now, I guess. So February 9th. This Sunday is February 1st. Next Sunday is February 8th, so it's the Monday after that. Submissions will be open for a week and a half. As I do not have the website for this exhibit yet, as soon as it's up online, I will email everybody and let you guys know. But you should be able to find more information about it by just going to the Utah Valley University Museum. And it is that big mansion over there. You can go online and get the go on the university website, look up the museum, and find out more about it. But I don't think anything is going to be available for you to access until February 9th. So as soon as it is, I will let you know. But I recommend everybody try to get in. Whether or not you get in, excuse me, doesn't matter, but it's a good idea to try. Fall through the thing. I don't think that um, there usually is not an entry amount. You don't have to pay to enter for this. So I would recommend. There's no reason not to try. Okay, so definitely uh, check that out and um, submit your artwork. Now, what I wanted to do today is go through. Uh, you're not going to see my face very much, and I look the way I do because I'm leaning back on a comfy chair, and it's a lot more comfortable to lean back, and so that's why this is kind of an odd angle. Let's see. I wanted to talk a little bit about the artist research and service learning, and I wanted to talk about this module 7B, artist research, annotated bibliography, or service learning project development. And then after we do that, we're going to look at two of the submissions for the wire, and we're going to talk about what is working about those and what could be done that's a little bit better, that fits more in line with the expectations of the assignment. So everybody needs to work on that and get that submitted by Sunday, or at the very least before our Wednesday meeting next week, so we can have stuff to talk about and look at. All right. So remember this assignment here, artist research or service learning. We still have a few people that have not submitted that. If you haven't submitted that, you're going to see, um, excuse me, you're going to see multiple assignments that you don't need to do. Once you decide if you're going to be doing the artist research route or the service learning route, you let me know by submitting this, and I will take the other things off of your to-do list. So if you're going to do it service learning, you're not going to have any of the artist research options available to you to do. If you do artist research, you're not going to be able to do any of the service learning options. And there are exceptions to that, and I'll show you what the exceptions are. Go to 7A. Everybody has to do this part. Notice this is a read icon. Everybody has to go through the artist list. There's 12 artists that you look at. Notice that is an assignment icon. Everybody has to read this, talking about service learning. Notice that icon. This is an icon that just means a link, and all this is a link to the second disaster film. And it's a short documentary that's just like 4 or 5 minutes long, talking about what happens when people are not paying attention when they try to help. Then this is the artist research or service learning thing that we just barely looked at. And if you're one of the few people that haven't made up your mind, before you make up their mind, look at this, then go through and look at each of these assignments. Okay. This is just people writing down which artists they picked. This describes a little bit about service learning. And that's pretty much it. You could also go down to 7B and look at these assignments. What kinds of things we're going to be expecting. And we'll talk about those in just a second. But do that as soon as you possibly can. So if you decide you're going to do artist research, you're only going to be responsible for the artist research option things, assignments. If you're going to do the service learning, you're only going to be uh, responsible for the service learning options. And at the very beginning, a couple people were starting to do both of these, but you're only going to do one or the other. So for 7A, you're going to be doing a reflection on what you watched in this video, and you're going to be thinking about some of the potential things that you could do. If you're doing artist research, you're going to be looking at these artists in this artist list and deciding which of them you're going to be pursuing in your research. So that's 7A. Now we go down to 7B. This is the next step. Let's say you chose service learning. In this assignment, yes, there's a lot to read, but there's not an awful lot to do. In this, we have links for the UVU Center for Social Impact. This is their Service Learning Outreach Center. This is their office. The person that works over there, I can't remember what their name is. Let's see if I can find their name. Sean Crossland is the main head honcho over there. So there's a lot of people that work there that can help talk to you about what kinds of things you can do in the community and connect you with different people to talk to. Remember, for this service learning thing, if you're doing the service learning, it has to be a project that is specifically a demonstration of your skill set and your life experiences as an artist. So you're not going to be setting up chairs for something. You're not going to be telling people where to park on campus. You're not going to be a library monitor. You're going to be somebody who specifically is doing something related to your degree and your skill set. If you're So that could be mentoring new artists at Salt Lake Community College. That could be doing displays for a homeschooling class. It could be a number of different things. Excuse me. One of the students last year had did a lot of volunteer teaching for kids that were on the spectrum. And what she did was make a number of cool down kits for kids on the spectrum that are just having a little bit of a problem at school, dealing with too much information. And these cool down kits are things where they can go to a quiet space and start going through this kit, find things to get them involved and get them away from the anxiety inducing atmosphere that's causing issues. And she made several of those that worked out really well. Somebody else found out that their church group needed something for the young ladies in the church to do because they were looking for a service project, and this individual happened to be already volunteering at a hospice center. So she coordinated with the young ladies in the church, and they made um, easement kits for the individuals going to the hospice, blankets and things like that. They're designed specifically to bring comfort and warmth into the room. So that sounds like a really fun project where the project was coordinating uh, other volunteers. The really important thing is that for this to count as a service learning opportunity, you even if it is related to the job that you currently have, you cannot be paid while you are doing it. And that is very important to remember. So in this assignment, you'll reach out to organizations that you found and share documentation of the discussion you've already had if it's from the beginning of the semester. The most important thing is that it needs to be related to what you are doing from the beginning of this semester for this class. All right? If you have any questions about this, reach out to me and talk to me. You don't have to share all the work that you did. This is basically a summary of what you're doing. A sentence or two recapping your discussion, and then each of the four questions for this assignment share paragraph. And that is for this assignment. Share your efforts communicating. Right? If you have any questions about that, let me know. So that's the service learning for 7B. That is one of the two assignments. The second assignment is, and this is just a one paragraph description of what you think you will be doing. All right. And it's just a loose idea of what you're going to be doing. And look at what I've written about on that. This is my example. And basically, this is the format you're going to be using. So you're just kind of describing what you think you're going to be doing. And by the time you get done, it may be completely different than this. But one thing I want you, as service learning people, it is very, very important not to allow scope creep to influence what you're doing. What that means is people are going to be so excited to have you help them that they will want to, without being mean or anything like that, they want to use more and more of your time potentially. And it's going to be difficult for you to be aware of that and say no politely, you know. And for the scope of this class, if you want to do more with them, that is absolutely great. But for this class, I want you to limit, have a clear idea, clear understanding of what you want to do, and then make sure, unless you feel that it's just a little bit of help, more help or whatever, that's fine. But I don't want you to be taken advantage of. I say this because about 2 years ago, a person was doing some stage sets they were designing stage sets for a community theater production. And originally she was just going to design and then make a little bit of one. That ended up being her family was dragged into it. And I'm saying dragged kind of tongue in cheek. She knew what was going on and her family wanted to be involved. Then her husband was invited to take part and he kind of wanted to be involved. But then she said, without her family, she wouldn't have been able to do it because it turned out from one simple thing into a big display. and her family was doing so she did a lot more than she had intended, and that was okay. But for her, but at the end, she did have to say no and walk away from any more stuff until after the end of the class, and then she had more free time and she could go back and do whatever they needed. But people at organizations that need volunteers help are really good at inviting you to do more than you expect that you're going to do. So be aware that your job in this is to do a service learning project for this class, and I don't want you taken advantage of. So be mindful of your own time and how valuable you are. Now, for uh, 7B, for the artist research portion, what we are going to be doing is you've picked an artist that you stated in that discussion, 7.A. You told everybody I'm going to do it on David Terrell or whoever it is, Anna Mendieta. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to engage in just doing some online research and find 5 different sources. And I want you to mix these up. They can be videos, they can be podcasts, they can be articles about the artist, they can be interviews with the artist, they can be critiques of exhibitions that the artists have been in or works that they've done. Uh, with Carol Walker, I she's one of my favorite artists because of uh, I saw some interviews with her that weren't really interviews. They were just people walking around behind her as she was working on stuff. And it was super cool seeing what she was doing. Another one of my favorite artists is a lady named Betty Saar, who is the grandma I wish that I had. She works out of California. She's amazing. Her work, I've kind of modeled my organization and my workshop after how she does her things. And again, I fell in love with her and her work because of watching a behind the scenes kind of thing of somebody just following her around. It wasn't interviews or anything. And then I watched some interviews too. And it was fascinating to see how she felt about her work compared to how critics thought about her work. She did stuff because she felt she needed to and she loved doing it. Critics saying that she was a powerful voice for all these different groups of people. And she said, I never thought of myself as a powerful voice because I just did the stuff that I felt needed to be done. I love that. Another one, Ella Tsui is another one of my favorite artists. And again, it was one of these behind the scenes thing, finding out the not finding out his deep thoughts about the art that he does, but finding out that he got his start by running across a bag of walking by a bag of garbage. And he thought, well, somebody just threw this on the side of the road. What can I do with it? And now he will go into an area. He has a workshop in Ghana, I believe. And in the little community that he's in, just the fact that he's able to get grants, outside grants, and use that to employ people to build stuff under his direction, he's fundamentally mentally transformed with hope the lives of dozens of people in his community. And just that is amazing to me because when we think of an artist, we're usually thinking of just their work, of what they have to say about their work. And so I love that kind of stuff. Anyway, you're going to find 5 different sources. And when you find those 5 sources, what you're going to do is put those sources into a citation that is in correct MLA format. And here's a couple different things that you can use online. And I do have a longer list, and I'm going to go through and add to this so that you see more different things that you can use to access. But what you're going to do is I'll show you what this looks like. Citation machine, you have different options. You can have it do it in different kinds of formats. This link takes you to an MLA style format, but there's different ones. You can go to the citations and if you have a class that requires a different one, you can do that. What you're citing, you can take the information that you see online and put it in here, or you can also apply the URL and it will help you to make the citation. There are several different companies that do this. And like I said, I will find other ones and update it and put more in there. But and I'll show you what this looks like in just a second. So for each of them, you're going to make an MLA citation, MLA format citation. There's a link to a YouTube video that shows you about a little bit how to do that. After you make that citation, you're going to write two paragraphs. And these two paragraphs, the first paragraph is going to be a summary of the information in that citation. Second paragraph is going to be your reflection, your thoughts about it. And a paragraph, remember, is 3 to 5 sentences. And I want you to be mindful of that. I want you to be aware this example I gave you is what I'm looking for. This is a really good uh, length for each of these paragraphs, and I think each of these are 3 or 4 sentences. So you're not writing a lot, but you are writing a little bit. If you decide that you're using AI to make the MLA formatted citation, and that is great, that's what I expect you to do. But I want you to double check it, and I want you to do a couple things that you make sure so that it's correct. For these two paragraphs, you can use AI to help you collate some information, but this needs to be your thoughts. AI cannot do thinking for you. All right. So this is going to be a description of it that is your description, and this is going to be a reflection that are your thoughts about it, not AI's. AI is a statistical use model. It is not, they are not ever thinking models. They're statistical language use models. So right here, you'll notice this is the citation from starting with Al, ending with the date. I put a period after that, and then I've put this date phrase on there, accessed on the date. Why do I do that? Whenever you do research online, uh, remember there's that archive.org site that I've introduced you to, and I'm disappointed with it right now because it looks like they're having some issues with copyright again. So I don't think anybody can access the textbook through them. But that changes as they update their site and do different things. But the Wayback Machine and archive.org are both really good. One of the things that they do is if you have a date and a website, they can go back to time through time and find out what that exactly what that website looked like on that date. That's important because a couple of you have pointed out that links are broken, things like that. I don't understand why the links get broken, other than sometimes the stuff is moved around on a website. But if you have this accessed on date, regardless of even whether or not the website is taken down, if you have that access on date, you can use a Wayback Machine or archive.org, and you can go back to that exact this date and find out exactly what it looked like when you accessed it. When you're doing citations for internet research, you always must have this at the end of the citation. So I have the citation, at the end is a period, then I have this accessed on. Notice I did not put a web link in this. You don't need to have a web link in the citation. You can put all this information in and find it. If you want to put the URL in, that's fine. You put the URL in between this last period and the capital A of the accessed on. Or you put it in after the last period of the accessed on date. You can put it in either one of those places. I think it looks really, really clean. If you want to include the website, do a hard return after that period at the end of this, put the website, hard return, and then start with your summary paragraphs, your annotations. This is what makes it an annotated bibliography. The citation makes it a bibliography, and then what you write about it, your notes, are the annotation. Now, I'm going to guarantee that most people in this class are not going to get this perfect the first try, and that's fine. That's why I make it available so you guys can resubmit as many times as it takes to get it right. Most of the time, what's going to happen is a couple different things. And the citations may be a little bit wonky. Since it's AI, it doesn't always follow what we expect to do with our human brains. And I've seen it before when the functional author for the citation, the correct author was the Met Museum, and the citation machine said museum, comma, the Met as the author. That's not right. So that's one thing that to be fixed. If there's a long line of people names like this, you've got to do that correctly as well, because a lot of the times the AIs they do the MLA style formatting. They don't understand how names work or names, and sometimes a website will have a little thing that it will be a summary of what the website is, and the AI will include that as part of the citation. You don't need that. But things like that, I will point out. And if you don't include the access on date for each of your citations, I'll catch that and mention that as well. So those are relatively simple edits. Now, a lot of the times people will try to organize the 5 citations, the way it seems to logically make sense to them. But the way that you always organize it for this kind of assignment, unless you're told specifically differently by your teacher, you organize all 5 citations alphabetically by the beginning of each citation. So if you have 3 citations, one starts with L, another one starts with the Met Museum, another one starts with a number. You're going to do the number first, you're going to do L second, and the for the name of the museum, the third, regardless of what the chronological order of the information. That doesn't make any difference at all. You're going to do your annotations will go specifically with each of these, and they're going to be in order. I've had sometimes people will turn this in where they'll do it in chronological order, and at the end they'll have their citations in alphabetical order as a separate thing. Don't do that. Do do the citation, access on date, your annotation. This is one thing, and then you're going to organize all 5 of them alphabetically according to the beginning of each of the 5 citations. And I hope that really makes sense. And again, if there's anything that is not quite up, if the paragraphs are a little bit too short, or there's no punctuation, or the access on dates aren't there for each and every one of the 5 citations, or whatever, if I point it out, you won't get perfect points, but I'll tell you exactly what you need to edit. And I've had people re-edit stuff immediately. There was, I think it was about a year and a half ago, I got online, I started grading this. I saw one, things were out of alphabetical order. So I mentioned that, and I said a couple other things. So they redid the alphabetical order, but they had still forgotten the access on date. So I mentioned that. And this is while I'm sitting there, I mentioned that, I plug that in after increasing their points a little bit. And then I do something else, come back. They've already edited it and changed it again. So within a half an hour, we went back and forth with 3 or 4 different edits that they had to do. And at the end, they got a perfect score. So I don't mind. And I hope you guys have seen that, as soon as something is redone, I will go back and double check and correct the grade and bring the grade up. Every but I want to make sure that everybody understands this. If you do have any questions, we will talk about it. I hope that everybody shows up next week so that we can, or more people show up next week so we can have more to talk about. So that's what the 7B is. Now you'll notice that I also open these things, and we're going to change the dates. These projects should be about every 2 or 3 weeks for each of the 6 projects. And then, and we're going to talk more about this, the structure with the skin, next week after we revisit or visit everybody's thing. And we're going to talk about this as well. Now, the artist research PowerPoint or service learning project, this is where you get to talk about the project. This is where you get to talk about the PowerPoint. Notice this isn't until March. I am flexible on these dates, just depending on what your workload is. Let me know what's going on. I want to call your attention to this, applying the tools of artistic critique. Notice these critiques aren't due until April 3rd. But this is why, notice each of these project modules, you have a discussion where you post your things. Every other one, we respond to other people's work, and then the others we don't. Like for this module, all you got to do is post an image of your work. You don't have to respond to anybody else's. I do that because when you get closer to doing your artistic critique, we'll talk about this more. Going to use the four tools of artistic critique to do a video critique of one of your own works that you did in this semester for this class, and you're going to pick somebody else's work that you saw in one of those discussions in this semester for this class. And the critiques are going to be 3 to 5 minutes long. I want you to know you do not need to record your own voice, and nobody's going to see you. You should not have yourself appear in this at all. You're going to show a screenshot of the artwork that you're critiquing. And if you want to write it out beforehand and put it into one of the AI voiceover things, you can do that. Or you can write it out, time it, and then have somebody else, like a friend or a relative, family member, somebody like that, read it for you. And what's really kind of fun is over the last couple of years, this has become available, the AI voices. Like this last year, we've had a couple really funny ones. I think somebody did Elmer Fudd for one. Another one did, I think it was Rumple of the Bailey. And somebody else found something that sounded like Saruman's voice from Lord of the Rings. They did that. So it can be fun. But it doesn't have to be your voice, but it does need to be a recorded video in one of the accepted video format files. So I can upload it to YouTube and I can open it on my Canvas access. That means MP4, MOV, or WAV. Those three formats will work. And we'll talk about it a little bit too, more when we get closer to it. 7C, we do the PowerPoint presentation. If you're doing the artist research PowerPoint presentation, you're actually going to make the PowerPoint, and then you're going to be showing the slides and talking about them and recording that. Nobody's going to see you. You just do this, and you can write it out and have somebody else be your voice, or write it out and have AI do the voiceover for you. So it's something else to look when we get closer to that. But that's not due until March, so that's over a month away. Now, I want to go through the wire thing a little bit more. We did talk about it last week. I want to talk about it a little bit more. One of the things we mentioned last week is that these are interesting, but they're too flat. This is a 3D design class, so it needs to be 3D. These are 3D, but they're really, really, really dense. And this I thought was a great example because it uses about the right appropriate amount of material, and it looks like a three-dimensional scribble, which is exactly what we're going for. This is what we want. This is the kind of thing we want to do. Craig Moss's cow. That's kind of what we're going for. And the quiz deals with chapters 3 and 6. Several people have already taken the quiz. And if you miss anything in the quiz or something isn't clear, all you've got to do is retake it, resubmit it, and I'll go back and regrade it. Not a big deal. All of them should be open for you to retake 70,000 times if you want to. I don't know why anybody would, but you can. Okay, here's the background artists. There are 6 background artists. Now, David Oliveira, um, one thing that I noticed because it was pointed out to me by a couple people in the class is that the website that I had linked right here was not working. So this website the updated website that I linked to, I'll show you what that looks like. It has lots of different things that he's done there. Now we're not gonna look at that right now. I'm gonna go back to the background and we're just gonna look at a few of the websites that talking about the different artists. Alexander Calder is one of my favorites. And the website, this is not opening up right now. So I'm going to go to this other one. So this is his website, his foundation's website. And there's a couple things that I really like about this that I want you to look at. But these artists are not necessarily for you to emulate, they're just to get fun ideas from. Like here's this cow. Notice that he uses two different thicknesses or three different thicknesses of wire. There's silver right here or gray right here and then a gold on the tail. And he's also taken a little bit of driftwood and used that as the body for the cow. And then, but the thing I want you to look at right here is he's not be trying to be anatomically perfect. He is using a lot of fun gesture. And this seems to be what Alexander Calder is really good at doing, just using gesture. Now, this is Josephine Baker. He's doing some things so you can see her long flowing skirt. You can see her outfit a little bit there. And she's dancing or performing, so her hands are up. But again, he's not being anatomically perfect. He's showing a lot of gesture. And I love the emotive gestures that he has. So this is from his animal series where he has a couple different birds. And these, unlike the cow, are all wire. And there's just some fun things that he's doing. Like this one is a leopard. And instead of doing individual spots, notice he has that kind of this elegant line. It looks to me, it reminds me very much of the Art Deco kind of graceful animals. But instead of doing individual spots, he's done these tight repeating coils, kind of reminiscent of a leopard. Yeah, that's very creative. And an elephant, of course. He has these legs that kind of brace the weight of the elephant, but the biggest feature are the trunk and the ears. I think that that's great. And there's a mule. So very, very cool stuff. So definitely take a gander at that website and check it out. I also included these because his circus animals, they have a little bit of wire, lots of other stuff, but I just want you to get a feel for his vibe as an artist. Lots of humorous stuff, lots of stuff that kids would enjoy, and adults that are feeling playful. I Ruth Asawa is somebody that I really admire. Her work satisfies my OCD. And it's amazing to me that just these delicate things that she creates that because of the repeated delicacy they become and this their sheer size, they become something that's powerful. They're almost ephemeral and they still have an intellectual weight when you see them. I love very simple designs, but the colors like this red and gray wire, copper and gray wire, she just does some really fascinating things. So look at her things. And then I love this where it almost looks like diatoms or the inside of sea sponges. And I have had several students try to make trees for this assignment. I want to advise you to step away from the idea of a tree and do something else. Her tree, I think, works really well. But the artists that I've seen that do trees out of wire, for them to look good, they usually have to do about 20 trees first. And then they start looking it's like something that they're really happy with. And I would say, please try not to do a tree. One of the reasons why I don't like it is because you have the really dense um, trunks, and it's very hard to balance the idea of what we're going for with the dense trunk. If you're going to do a tree, don't make the trunk dense. Use your wire to mimic the striations of bark. Don't make it a solid thing. And I think if you do that, then the tree has a good chance of being successful. And the next artist, Anthony Gormley. Um, Not all the things on his website show a wire, but one thing that you'll notice that there is a lot of reference to the human form. He works with the human form a lot. Now, this is really an interesting one where it is kind of wire or piping, but he has these really large rectangles, and where they intersect is a human form. And then he makes things out of bricks that look like people as well. And this kind of reminds me a little bit of Minecraft, but he didn't do this to be Minecraft. He may have been responding to some of that aesthetic, but I think it's really interesting. And you can see how sometimes they relate directly to the human form and sometimes they're a response to the human form. And some of these are the block ones. This one I think is really interesting, where if you just walk by, it could look like a pile of rocks, but then you realize that this is actually a person who's curled up, probably not having the best of days. This, I think, is a really interesting display. These don't have a lot to do with wire. I just think they're fascinating. Now, this one, it's difficult for me to see the human form in this, but as if you go to see this in person, you can walk around it, and sometimes where these pipes and wires intersect, you'll see kind of a coalescing shadows of human beings. And this is one of his wire sculptures where it's just made out of stacked cubes. And this, you see the like there's a head, here's a neck. This kind of represents a body and torso. Here's a leg coming down, knee and a foot. Very interesting. This one, I just see it as a cloud. I don't see a human figure in it at all. And the wire is making all these dodecahedrons and Archimedean solids and different stuff like that. This one I think is fascinating, where it's just straight lines, and where they come together and join, that's where you see the human figure. So there's some really fascinating stuff that he's done. When you look at these, you may not think they're much, but realize that somehow this is a cast block of cement and it had a human form inside. That's what the shape of the hollow is. So there's feet, fingertips, and on here that you can't see the top of the head. But as we go down, we can explore more of his site. You'll see more of his wireworks as well. Oh, I just realized I was telling you all about this, and I had not showed the website at all. I'm sorry. Here's the big rectangle that kind of coalesce into a human form. See the blocks that are kind of reminiscent of Minecraft, especially this one. See this is looks like a pile of stones almost until you see the person, human beings laying out. Here's another wire form thing. You walk around this and you can see where the wires intersect as you move around. Then you start seeing human forms. Here's the cubes making up the person sitting. Here's the Archimedean solids and dodecahedrons made out of wire that kind of coalesce into a cloud. And here's the wire that's straight sticks, and where the tips intersect makes a human being form. So I'm sorry about that. This is one of the reasons why I love it when you guys are here with me, because you can say, "Hey, excuse me, we can't see anything." Now this is at the Helmi Plensa. I don't know why the website isn't loading. One of the things that I noticed in um, the security protocols on my computer, if you're not holding your nose right, sometimes it just doesn't work. And Plensa's stuff last time, we were able to, I was able to see it. This time it's giving me a hard time. So if you guys wouldn't mind looking, we still have the videos there. The videos are still going to be good. If you guys wouldn't mind looking and seeing if that website works for you, if it doesn't, I will find another one and we will get it to work. Okay.
Which website are you asking about?
Oh, somebody did join me.
Hi. Sorry I was late.
Anna and Kelsey, thank you so much for being here. In the recording, I went on for the last hour about how lonely I was. So
Oh no. I'm so sorry. I'm in, I think I told you before, I'm in the SpongeBob musical,
Uh-huh.
and I'm one of the background jellyfish dancers, and they moved one of our rehearsals, and it's our last one till the performance to tonight. And I was like, dang it, but I'm here now. So I'm sorry, what's the link that you're wanting us to check to make sure?
Okay,
Um,
well, if you can see on my page
yeah.
here, the Helmy Plensa, the website, it was working about an hour ago. It's not working now. And if you guys wouldn't mind looking at this, if it doesn't work for you, then I'll find a different source.
Well, I could try it right now. I'm sorry, I am still like slightly confused on which website you're talking about. Sorry.
Okay, can you
Um,
see? I'm
I see
doing
you on your page, but
okay,
which
it says
link? There's like
background.
multiple
You
links.
go all the
Like,
way down here, the one that has the blue box around it.
which
There's
one?
number 4, it says Helmy
Number
Plensa,
4.
and it's this website right next to his name.
Okay. Let me look real quick.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to go to Martin Sen's website. Martin Sen is out of Germany, and I wanted to share some of his wire. His wire work is interesting because some of it is 2D that's designed to hang on a wall, and some of it is 3D that's designed to stand by itself. Now, for his Adam and Eve, this is his Adam and Eve. It reminds me of John Lennon, Yoko Ono. That's who I think of when I see this. And this is one of his wall pieces out of wire. And then this is, can you guys see my screen share on Martin Sen's website right now?
No, no,
You can't,
I can't see it. It's still on the page with all of the links to the different sculptures, um, where it says 4, 5, 6. I see Martin Sim's name, but
okay, I'm going to do, that is really weird. I'm going to do the screen share again and see if we can get it to work.
okay.
Okay, can you guys see this?
Yeah,
Should the Martin Sen website. Okay.
I see it now.
And here's the Adam and Eve, which is John Lennon and Yoko Ono. And we go down, a radio. This is one of his freestanding pieces. The Coca-Cola bottle, another freestanding piece. I love this because the seams in the bottle and the different ridges and stuff like that, he just follows along with his wire, and I think it's really entertaining. And then a packet of cigarettes that I think is one of his standalone pieces. And in this case, it's displayed next to a wall. A microphone stand. I just think he does some really amazing stuff. And this is David Oliveira. This is one that I did have to find a new one because several people emailed and said that the link was not working. So can you guys see the Saatchi Art website?
Yes.
Okay. So this shows a lot of his stuff. This is from his Loose Skin series, which is just basically he's doing a portrait draw or figure drawings of people, and he's using the wire to kind of loosely outline their bodies and stuff. Some really amazing stuff. And I think these things are astounding to me because he'll use reflective wire, but he'll light it so that the light just glows off the very top of it. I just think it's really incredible looking. These aren't fiber optics, but they almost look like fiber optics because how he he has chosen to, David Oliveira has illuminated them. And I think that's fascinating. All right. So we should be back on the background page. And I wanted to reiterate again, if you did your artist review and you didn't get a very good score, most likely it's because um, the wrong artists were used. For each of the artist reviews, all of them must use the artist in the background of that same module.
I did check the link for, um, it was number 4, right?
Yeah,
And it does work. Both of
it,
those.
it does work now.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm going back to double check it. And it was Plensa. Okay. I wonder then if it's just my computer that's not working on it then, because that's just really odd. And you could probably see I'm sharing my screen. It's just a blank thing right now. It's not showing anything. And it's not allowing me to access the page. So that's frustrating. I hope that these links do work for you. If any of them don't work, let me know. And I wonder why it's not working for me in this particular instance. That's just odd. Okay, we last week we talked about the project, looking at these things, and I wanted to reiterate, notice that each of these sections we have a little bit of time that's suggested. On some of the things I've noticed that over the years I've noticed that there is a direct correlation between time spent and grade earned. If people do not, if they come in, it says create your piece 8 to 10 hours, and you spend an hour and a half on it, I guarantee you will not be getting a good grade. And it's not because I know how much time you're spending on that. It is, though, because you haven't spent the time you need to go through the idea and express the idea. Excuse me. So when you turn something in, if it doesn't get like the points for craft craftsmanship, um, it's a probably good indicator that it needs to have more time needs to be spent on it. And then you can just rework it and turn it in again. And I'm talking about for the future. So this is one sample that has been turned in. This was not turned in for this class. Um, can you see this image?
No, it looks like we're still looking at the 6 different artists
Okay.
of sculptures from canvas.
That is aggravating.
Okay. Wait, I can see it now.
Okay. This is another class did this, and I'm really liking how this is looking. I think it looks fantastic. Uh, there are some things that I would change to make it fall more in line with the expectations of this assignment. Remember, this is a 3D design class, and right now, as it is, these 4 wings in the body are all on the same flat plane. And so what I would recommend for this person is if this is supposed to be a dragonfly, maybe take this wing and bend them up, maybe take this wing and bend it down. Or better yet, do the opposite. Bend these 2 back ones up, these 2 down, and then use the tail and the tips of these 2 wings as a tripod for this to stand on. And I think that would work really well. Now, a couple of things that I really like about this is look at how they use the different elements of wire. They brought in some of their own thin silver wire, and you get some of this delicate tracery on each of the wings. I love that. I love how the black wire makes a very strong outline to support the kind of silver netting. And I love just the kind of spiral jaggediness for the body and the head, and how the spiral changes direction so you can see the two eyes. I think that's fascinating. And I love also how when they lit it, you can really see the shadows of all those lines. I think that turned out very, very nice. Then here's another one. And this one is kind of hard to see, but I want to show you something else and a different view that I think will make it a lot more apparent what this is. Okay, so I'm hoping you guys can see this. I'm going to share this tab. Can you guys see this sketch?
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah, now it becomes a lot more apparent what this thing is. It's a fruit bat hanging upside down in a on a tree branch. Then we go back and look at the wire. There's a little element that hangs down here to kind of support the tree branch. So, it's a flying fox. And once I saw that sketch, then I realized, oh, wow, they did a pretty amazing job. You get this really kind of cool texture for the twig that it's wrapped on, kind of grows into the flying fox. You get a different feeling where it's wrapped itself with its wings. And then you can see the nose or the snout, the eyes and the ears. I think it's really fascinating. And you guys can see this, right?
Yeah, I think they did a great job.
Yeah.
I'm actually rather nervous to do this project. I don't think I'm going to do well.
Well, that is a really good way to sabotage yourself so you don't do well.
Oh, thanks. I've just never worked with wire before.
Well, then I want you to think about for everybody who feels the same way. Uh, I don't, it makes me really uncomfortable when people say, well, I'm not going to do well because that puts yourself in a framework where you're going to be hypercritical of everything that you do. And I don't think that's very fair to yourself.
How do you get out of that framework?
Well, this is what I'm leading up to. How many times have you worked with wire before in your life in a sculptural setting?
Zero.
Zero. So, can you see this? The page I'm sharing it says module 2.
Yes.
Okay. You've never done it before.
Yeah.
So this wire sculpture is going to be the very best one you've ever done in your life.
Oh, I love that.
All right. And that's the attitude I want you guys to take into it. And if we've got to tweak it a little bit so it fits closer to the assignment parameters, that's fine. We'll tweak it so it fits closer and you can resubmit. But when you do this, if it's the first time you've ever done anything like this, it will be the best one you've ever made. And I want you to go into that with that kind of attitude rather than, oh no, I know this is going to suck. Because if you keep telling yourself, oh, this is going to be terrible, it's going to be terrible. Whether or not other people think it's good, you're going to be thinking to yourself they're lying to you because you've already convinced yourself that it's terrible. So I don't want you to have that attitude. Yesterday, my class that I teach at Utah Tech, we did water marbling. And I said, ask them how many times people have water marbled before. Nobody had. So I said, so this will be the best you've ever done. And it was amazing because today when they got collected their papers, it was all dry and everything. They said, wow, this is amazing. This is fantastic. Nobody looked at all the little imperfections and claimed that they were mistakes. So it turned out great. That's the attitude I want you guys to have. It's the best you've ever done. So this is what we're going to be doing and looking at. I'm going to change the due date on this. It says wire sculpture February 8th. We really want it to be done this Sunday. And I did change the due date, but I don't know why it didn't show up.
Okay, so you want this done on the 1st.
Well, I'd like it done so that we can look at the pictures on Wednesday.
Oh, fantastic. I haven't done anything on it yet because I thought it was due the 8th. That's okay.
Well,
It's gonna
and
be awesome.
it said that, and I thought I had changed it, and apparently I hadn't. So, yeah,
It's good. Okay. Do you have any tips on how to just start? Like where to start? I want to do a bird, and I'm just like, I don't even know. How do I just do I unravel this whole thing? Do I just unravel as I go, kind of like you're working with yarn when you're knitting? Or
what I would recommend doing
I am so
is
stressed.
get a feel. There's no reason to be stressed because this is the first time you've ever done it, and it's going to be amazing. Uh, what
Yes.
I would recommend is get your tools in front of you,
Okay.
sketch things out, sketch thinking, okay, this is what the wire is going to look like. And the one of the reasons why I have these modules the way they are is because by the time you get to this point, you've already looked at what these other 8 artists are doing. So you
Yeah.
already have kind of an idea of what kind of humor and expression can be presented with the wire.
Right.
So you have your eye protection, have your gloves, have your fiddle with the sketches,
Okay.
um, and have them in front of you. Then what I would do is uncoil the wire, and you don't want to, unlike yarn, you're not going to take it off the skein and then ball it up. What I want you to do is uncoil it so that it's kind of in a loose cloud.
All of it,
I would, so you get a sense of how much you're going to work with.
so that it's like a
And I
loose
would make
cloud,
it into a cloud that's about the size of a basketball or maybe a little bit bigger.
right?
So it's a really good idea to avoid having a cat around you when you do this part.
Okay.
And then look at your sketch and start thinking, well, what do I want to start with? What are the kinds of things I want to do? And what I would recommend is if this is the sketch I'm going to turn into the wire, I'm going to start just making the wire so I have an outline of maybe the right foot here going up to the shoulder,
Hmm.
maybe a little loop for where the head is, coming down with another foot, going
Hmm.
in the back, making the other two hind feet and the tail. So I have a very loose outline with the wire. And then I'll probably start building up the body a little bit, then revisiting the feet so I have a little bit more stability, and then use the rest of the wire to play on the head if that's where I'm going to do the most detail. Or if I'm going to do the bird, for the
Yeah.
bird, maybe what I would do is do a couple loops for the body and maybe pinch an area for the head, maybe work on the head just a little bit, come down, work on the feet just a little bit so I get a sense of where they are. And then I know a lot of the wire is going to be used on the wings. So I'll work on those and do the majority of the wire on the wings after I've stabilized it with the feet and the body and the head. That's how I would look at it. For this teddy bear, I imagine the person made a couple big loops to as a stabilized body. Then they probably did open sausages for the bottom legs. They probably made a couple loops for the arms so that they could get a good placement for them. Then they worked on the head. And this is not, you don't have to do this all in one strand. What I would do is make a couple loops for the body, then clip the wire, and then wrap the wire ends to make the body so it's stable.
Okay, so we can clip
Oh
it. It
yeah,
doesn't have to be
absolutely.
all just one loop-de-loop.
Yeah, look at the shoes here.
Oh yeah, I see it. It
So
has
here's the end of one piece of wire, goes around here, goes around here, goes around here. Here's the other end. Here's one end, loops around here, goes all the way around here, loops around here. Here's another end. Another piece of wire started right here, coils over, comes around, loops around, and here's the end there. So this piece right here probably has about 8 different pieces of wire in it. So yeah, cut it up. I would not cut it in, into like 1/2 inch lengths. That would be a waste of time. But I would, before cutting it, I would start making a shape that kind of resembles the belly, gives the rough size. And then once you have that kind of loose where you want it so that it isn't, it's going to be enough to stabilize the other pieces, clip it and use your pliers to tie it off. Does that help?
Yeah, I'm just seeing like what tools are in this box that we have. We got
I
this.
should have, everybody should have a pair of pliers that has a cutting element to it. And if you have other pliers and stuff like that, when I did this, I went to Harbor Freight and I bought, they have a beading wire kit that I bought. Another time I went there and I found that they have like $1.99 pliers, small pliers. So I bought like 2 or 3 of those in different shapes, and that's what I used in addition to the pliers that were in the kit.
That's perfect. Okay. I think I have wire cutters.
Okay.
Cool. This will be good. Did you? I missed the first half an hour. Did you go through and look at? Did we look at all the other houses that people submitted?
We did that last week. There were only a
Oh
couple
yeah.
other houses that were submitted this week. We still have
Oh.
several people that haven't submitted their houses. So,
Bummer.
and I do, I on the recording as warning people, I'm not too worried about late submissions in general because I do want people to have the freedom to go back and resubmit. What I am concerned with is I don't want people to put this off thinking, oh, it's just going to be a day or two, because a day or two is never a day or two. It's always a week or two.
Yeah.
And if we're going to get to the end of February, we're going to be, it's going to be the midterm season, and you're going to realize, oh no, I should have 3 projects completely done, and I only finished the first one. I don't want anybody to feel like that. I want all of you guys to be totally calm, totally confident, and the easiest way to do that is to stay as close as you can to the due dates.
Right.
And it may be that for this wire, stuff is only going to be halfway done, but that's fine. I want people to post their images so we can look at them, talk about them, and then you know where to add more wire and what to do.
Okay. So post it even if we're not completely done.
Yes,
Bye.
post it even if you're not completely done. One of the people in this class posted their house before they even finished taking the other photos.
Right.
And that's fine because we were able to talk about the house. What needs to happen to it, and where can they what can they do to push it to the level of craftsmanship needed for this class. So that's totally fine.
Perfect.
So I want everybody to be able to do that. All right, I think that I covered everything that I needed to for this class. Does anybody have any questions? Kelsey or Anna, do either of you have questions about the stuff that you heard me talking about? And if you came a little bit late, feel free to watch the recording so you can see the earlier stuff, and you might have some questions for us next week. But I'm looking forward to next week and seeing what people have done with the wire because I think it'll be fascinating.
Yes, it'll be so fun. I don't have any questions, but I will go back and watch what I missed.
Okay, Anna's asking a question, will the wire sculpture be covered in paper mache later? No. Um, the wire sculpture, when you guys get done with it, you're going to photograph it. I don't want you to throw it away. You may use it at the very last thing because our last thing that we do is not its own module, project module. You actually can use stuff that you've made and put it together if you want to make to add on to your foam carving. We're using the paper mache to cover the foam carving that we're going to do in module 4. So we're not going to, I did have people do paper mache over the wire the very first semester I did this, and so many people came down with migraines and pain in the butt itis that it wasn't worth. I don't want you guys to stress out like that for this class. So the paper mache will be used to cover the foam carving, which is so much easier than trying to use it to cover wire. So good question. All right. If that's it, if there's no other questions, that's all I have for tonight. And I'm so glad Anna, you and Kelsey came in. Um, I was lonely for the first hour, but you guys made saved the evening. So thank you very much.
I'm so sorry. I will be there next week, I promise.
Well, it was for SpongeBob. That's always a good excuse.
Yes, SpongeBob.
All right, I'll look forward to seeing you guys next Wednesday or this coming Wednesday. Um, and again, I want to remind people, do not settle for less than perfect score. You can always resubmit. You can always tell me what's going on, and we can always update your grade. All right? We'll see you guys.
Great, thank you. Bye.
Bye.